To avoid tax, you can go via the route of tax planning. But immediately you get to the point where you are evading tax, very soon the last thing is going to call you.
That is illegal.
It's very illegal.
That's against the law, and you will get yourself in a court case with a lawyer.
So,
hi guys, welcome to GSF Podcast. My name is Felix, and I'm the host of this podcast. Today we have a really special guest with us. His name is Emmanuel Danso. Hi Emmanuel, how are you doing?
Hi Greg, thanks for having me. Emmanuel, as Greg has already said, 24 years old, and I'm originally from Ghana. I lived majority of my life in Qatar, where my parents work. So life has been good. I've been really enjoying. I moved to the Netherlands to pursue my career, and so far I think it's going on very well. I would say I have a relatively boring life, but what I do to just keep me up and happy is reading.
Nice. What do you do for a living?
So I'm a lawyer in the commercial field, so a commercial lawyer, or people will say a corporate lawyer. What I do is I work on behalf of a company. I work in their anti-bribery and corruption team, and also I work in their ethics department. So what companies usually have is an ethics and a business integrity team. And what we basically do is to ensure that the company is at the right standard, to ensure that the company is meeting all the regulatory requirements, to protect the stakeholders and also to protect the reputation of the company at the end.
That's interesting. And at what organization do you do that?
I work at ASML. So for people that don't know it, it's the largest company in Europe by market cap. Yes, so that's the company I work for.
Nice. So what would you advise people about the law as a lawyer?
Thank you. This is a very, very important question, and I think it's very relevant for everybody. Whether it means you work for a company, whether it means you're just a citizen in a nation, or just you're part of an organization, it's very important. There's a popular legal quote that says, ignorance to the law is not an excuse. And it also applies when it comes to your rights, because the ignorance to the law in you defiling the law becomes a case against you, whether you say, I know it or not. The same thing applies when you don't know your rights. You cannot exercise it to your best ability. You know, for every organization, for every workplace, for every community that you find yourself in, your strength, one of your biggest weapons, is your rights. And if you are informed of your right, you can take advantage of the opposition in a society, community, workplace, whatever you have. And one thing that I want to advise people, specifically those who join organizations, because I'm assuming most people that are going to watch you are up and coming people who want to explore their career. One thing that I'll advise each and every one of you is that immediately you start your career, make sure you know your rights in that company, because that is when you have a footing in the place of decision making. Okay. Companies don't want to disclose this to you, but the most important thing that you should know immediately you join a corporation, a business, whatever, is what are my rights and how best can I take it for my own advantage.
Nice, interesting. And what can you tell us about international laws and European laws?
Okay, so when we talk about international European law now, the conversation has shifted from cooperation to basically the highest standard of legal communications. Okay. So when we talk about international law, we are talking about a set of rules and principles that sort of binds countries. Sorry, let me say that again. So
that's the question. Okay.
So when we talk about international and European law, first of all, let's talk about international law. Now, this is what people call primary laws, because there's primary laws and secondary laws. Primary laws are basically the highest standard of law. Secondary laws is something that can come applicable given a situation where it is mutually agreed between states. But predominantly, if you're talking about international law, we are talking about a set of laws agreed between states or countries, and they are binding upon mutual agreements. So what I mean by binding upon mutual agreements means if the Netherlands and Belgium agree that from today, this specific law applies to us, then on paper, it's mutually agreed. And then on paper, it becomes binding. And then after it being signed amongst the countries, it becomes rectified. That is when it comes into law. So that is the first standard of international law. Now, when we talk about European law is a subset of international law because indeed it does have to do with set of rules and laws that binds countries together. And when we look at the European law, we always look back into the EU regulatory laws, the TFEU, and all those sort of laws that keep the EU going. So basically, people always say, and you know, majority of lawyers always make this statement that where there is a society, there should be law. And wherever society you find yourself, community, organization, as long as people are together, there should be a set of laws that keep them in right standing. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So you told us about international law and European law. What can you tell us about commercial law?
Yes, commercial law, that is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
That is my field. And one thing that I want to tell you is that the same way there are a set of laws that apply to human beings, natural persons, there's also a set of laws that apply to legal persons. Now, in the field of law, a company is a person. In the field of law, a company has rights. So that's why we call companies legal persons. Now, when we talk about the field of commercial law, we are talking about the regulatory laws, procedural laws that ensure that companies are law-abiding, and also to ensure that companies exercise their rights efficiently. So I can look at something very, very, very interesting that I can talk about right now. So let's say a company. One of the things that we can talk about is limited liability, for example.
Yeah.
Limited liability is a term that is used for incorporations or companies. And usually a limited liability company is said that that company has a right on its own. It's separate from the person. So I can start a limited liability company and I am definitely separate from the company, which means the company and I have two different identities. If the company has an issue, the issue is brought against the company, not myself. That's the limited liability conversation we are talking about. For the sake of time, I'm just going to stick to limited liability and give you an understanding of what I want to emphasize. So when we talk about limited liability, usually people use this umbrella of a limited liability company to help save themselves money.
Yes.
So I know majority of people watching will be very much interested.
Okay.
So let's say I want to start my own real estate company and I want to make sure that I do it as efficient as possible.
Yes.
I can start a limited liability company
Okay.
and transfer all the rights and liabilities to the company. And that will save me a lot of tax and it will save me a lot of regulatory liabilities.
Okay.
It is the safest way to go about business, but they're not going to tell you because then you wouldn't be paying a lot of tax.
Got it. So let's say now that you have your limited liability company of real estate and I'm your tenant and your house is really messed up and I know my rights and I want to sue you based on stuff that we agreed upon, but you're not performing based on what we agreed. What would you do on the same scenario as with your limited liability company?
Yeah. So at that point, the tenant cannot sue me directly. Because when we talk about limited liability companies, we have something called the corporate veil, which means there is a veil that stands between the company and the person behind the company. Which means the tenant cannot come to me and bring a case. He will have no legal basis to bring me to court or anything. So he goes to a court and says, this is the man behind the company. I know him. The court says, no, this is the company. It's a limited liability company. So the best thing the person can do is try to sue the company, but you can never touch the person. However, there are some exceptions. There is something called piercing the corporate veil. And it's from a legal case that happened, I think, in the early 2000s, Simon v. Simon. Okay. And it was, the outcome of the case was basically that if it is clearly identified that the company is used as a facade for corruption and fraud, then you are allowed to pierce through that company to bring a case against that specific person. But the requirements to identify whether a company is used as a mere facade it's not so easy. So at all times, the best the tenant can do is try to sue the company. That's all you can do. But the person is always protected.
If you have a limited
If
liability,
you have a limited liability company, yeah.
or else I'm suing you directly, and it comes
Definitely.
personally for your finances.
Definitely. If I set up the real estate company, I have an apartment I'm renting to you,
Yeah.
and I don't have a company behind it. You sue me and it affects me.
Your whole finance.
Everything affects me, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. What can you tell us about taxes? You named taxes. Talk to us about taxes.
Yeah, so the direction that I talk about taxes is always in the direction of commercial law. Because when we talk about taxes, it's a broad concept.
Yes.
We can look at taxes from the point of economics. We can look at taxes from the point of finance. But where my focus is basically in the scope of commercial law. Now, when we look at taxes, it is always a very interesting case because everybody cares about taxes so much. Nobody wants to pay.
That is one of
your
the
tax, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay
That is
their
one
tax.
of the biggest expenses of people, but they don't be knowing.
Yeah, but the thing is, there are rules and requirements that are readily available for you to plan your taxes. Now, I'll make it clear to everyone. Tax planning is very legal, but tax evasion is not.
You have tax avoidance and tax evasion.
Exactly.
And that's two different things.
Exactly. So if you want to avoid tax, you can go via the route of tax planning. But immediately you get to the point where you are evading tax, very soon Belasting is going to call you.
That is illegal.
It's very illegal.
Illegal. That's against the law, and you will get yourself in a court case with a lawyer.
So basically, if I can bring this as clear as possible to people, is that when we talk about tax planning, for every company or for every country, there's what we call the tax code of the country. Now, the tax code of the country gives a clear stated outline of what is permissible, what we call the legal loopholes within the tax. Exactly. Those we have tax incentives, tax benefits, and then we have
music to my ears.
Every country has a tax code. Now the thing is, a lot of people move to countries and they have no idea what the tax code is. And when you look at the tax code, you shouldn't look at tax code for only natural persons, which is you and I.
Yeah.
You should also look for the tax code for private persons or legal persons. Look at what is allowed for companies, what is allowed for natural persons like us. Because the difference is this, and this is the secret, I'm giving it to you. When a natural person gets an income,
yes,
immediately his tax is deductible.
Yes.
That is what we call income tax.
Yes.
Income tax is deductible at the reception of the income. But it's different for corporations. For corporations, the company receives its income or receives its revenue. The company is required to pay off expenses and liability.
Okay.
And then what is left is what is taxed on. So usually what I advise people is when you move to a new country or the country that you live in, usually look at the tax code. And when you look at the tax code, don't look at it from the perspective of a natural person. Also look at the perspective of a private person. Because I put this to you that when a natural person, you and I, we receive an income, the first thing that comes out of the income, it is beforehand is a regulatory legal requirement for every country that an income tax must leave that income. So there is a reimbursement that your company is giving you, your business is getting, but there has to be an income tax directly deductible to the tax authorities. But it's different for companies. A company is required to first pay off its liability, offload expenses. If you have employees, pay off employees. And then what is left is what you are required to tax on.
Yes.
So there are people who start limited liability companies, and usually the purpose of that company is to offload their tax liabilities. So that is what we call tax write-offs. So a person might start a company, and the purpose of the company, you see the person all of a sudden buying big cars. Not that they want that big car, they just want to write off the tax.
And they're looking for expenses to write
Looking
it
for
off.
expenses to offload.
And it is in the law and looking for loopholes and using
It's
the
very
system.
much in the law.
Okay.
So you can see people who use the tax system to start real estate.
Yes.
Because they start their business, and let's say if I have a tax liability of 750,000, why don't I just buy an apartment and label it as one of my branches? It's possible. All of this is in the tax code, but until you read the tax code, you would end up paying 750 for nothing.
Wow. Yes.
It's all knowledge.
Got it. Yes.
It's all knowledge. So it's all dependent on you. That's why I really, really advise be well informed about the tax code of the country you're in.
Interesting. It really reminds me of a Netflix series named Suits. You ever saw Suits before?
I can't lie, Suits is very good, you know.
There's a lot of game of lawyers, laws, all the law
everything.
game, everything.
And then the politics that go on behind law firms.
The politics in the office,
In the
outside
office
the
and
office.
outside office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really, really liked it. Yeah.
Who's your favorite character in the Suits?
I must say Harvey, you know.
Why Harvey? That I like him.
Because you know, Harvey makes you think outside of the box. He makes you think and realize that the law is beyond what is just written. You can read what is written and also read what is not written.
And explain more about, you could read what is written and what is not written.
So what is written is basically what we call the explicit rules. That is what is outlined for you to follow. But then the loopholes are what is not written. And then the loopholes might be in the wordings as you may, you can. Those are the loopholes. And usually when you can explore those loopholes, you can always use it for your advantage.
So may, it's not a concrete
May
word.
is not concrete.
And as soon as it's not concrete, you could play in the unconcreteness.
Yeah.
So you said Harvey was your favorite.
Harvey it is.
I really liked him because of his confidence that he knows he would probably solve the problem.
You know, let me tell you something. When you go to, let's say you're doing a public litigation or something, or even private litigation, one of the things that you need is your confidence, man. Because you are coming against one of the best at all times. And usually it might not be enough to just know the law. It might not just be enough to know the cases. Usually we have something we call mental victory.
Okay.
You know, the same way you watch a UFC fight and there are two people going to fight. Yeah. One can already defeat somebody by the mental game at the beginning. The same thing we do in the court of law as well. Get into the person's head as much as possible. To lawyers, your issue that is plaguing you is a game to us.
Ooh. Okay, say it again.
To lawyers, the issue that is plaguing you is a game to us. When two lawyers come together, the adversary and the defendant, what we see is a game. Who is going to win?
Nice. Okay. Interesting. Really interesting.
Because look, when you watch Suits, Harvey always makes a statement that I haven't lost, and you go to whatever extent to win. Because he saw the game as a game. Now, I'm not advising upcoming lawyers to also take that approach. If you want to be, there are two types of lawyers you can be. You can be a very ethical lawyer, and you can be a procedural lawyer. An ethical lawyer cares about doing what is good in the sight of law, ethics, what is morally right, what is. But there is what we call the procedural lawyer. He just does what has to be done.
Just to win.
Just to win. And that is not what we advise.
All right. And what would you advise for a student that wants to be a lawyer?
At this point, I will advise, if you want to enter law, go into law and technology.
Law and technology, why?
Yeah. Because it's the next thing. As the world is exploring the realm of AI, the world is entering what we call the technological age. Very soon, traditional lawyers will not be compatible for the new form of law. And it's only people who have explored international European law, but also focusing in law and technology, who have an edge.
All right. Okay. So go in
law and technology. Okay. Yes, law and technology. I'm giving you the secret, guys.
And what is your goal in your profession?
So ideally, what I want
So
to do,
results that you want to reach, some goals, some personal goals in your profession as a lawyer.
personal goals. I'm not so much, what do you call it, traditionally
Oh,
ambitious as a lawyer.
all right.
I see law as something that I'm doing for a while because I see that innately I'm an entrepreneur, and innately I see myself venturing into real estate, venturing into something that I'll enjoy more. But I'm not saying I don't enjoy law. I love law, but I don't see myself staying in law for more than 15 years from now.
All right. Nice. So you said we talk about real estate laws a little bit, but can you give us a real estate 101 fast? Just a recap, but in real estate in general, when it comes to your background as a lawyer and as your knowledge beforehand from real estate or general knowledge of real estate.
So the first thing that I would say is that one of the easy cash cows is real estate. People say, why should you get into real estate?
Tax benefits.
Tax benefits, you may say, but one thing that is guaranteed to always go up is real estate. But people say, oh, doesn't the housing market crash? No. People they get born every day. People will need a place to put their head. The real estate business is one of what we call the evergreen businesses that you can venture into.
Nice.
So I always say real estate starts from basically buying a house.
Nice.
And it's not difficult to find a tenant. Everybody's looking for a house. So if you venture into real estate, you've already made a step into becoming what we call a business mogul. But it's all about strategy.
Yeah.
Real estate is about strategy. Real estate is not your ability to buy houses. It is about strategy. Because let me give you an example. Let's say I want to buy a house worth 550,000 euros and I have 550,000 euros available. What I can do is that I can buy 5 houses, 4 worth 500,000 and maybe 1 worth 250,000. Now let me tell you what I'll do. You put 100,000 in all 4, your mortgage will be probably, let's say, maybe 1,000, 1,500, I don't know. It depends. It depends on how it's marginalized. And let's say you buy one worth 250,000, you place 50,000. Let's say on an average, let's say based on your financial calculations, you are paying a mortgage of 1,500 for all. Let's say. You can already venture into what we call an uproar in real estate. You get a tenant that is paying more than that. Basically, what the tenant is doing is that he's paying a mortgage for your house, for you, and paying you money on top of that.
That's what we're calling house hacking a little bit.
That is what we call house hacking.
Okay.
Usually, if I have a house and I go to somebody and I say, I own this house, I have to pay 1,500 euros every month. Please stay in my house and pay 1,500 euros for me. You know what they will say? Never.
Yeah.
You think I'm stupid? It's your house.
Yeah.
But when it's in real estate, nobody sees it. And usually they will pay you extra on top, because usually when your mortgage is 1,500, you probably put the house in the market for 2,500.
Yeah.
The person pays your mortgage and pays you extra
Cash
1,000 euros.
Cash
And usually
flow.
the cash flow that will flow from all 5 businesses, 5 houses, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Let's say if that is the spread,
Yes.
you can eventually put it together and get into another house. That is what we call the BRR BRR strategy.
Buy,
You buy,
rent,
refurbish, refinance, and then you refer all those things.
Repeat.
You repeat the process as much as you can.
Nice. Good advice. That's based on real estate. And why did you become a lawyer? Why did you become a lawyer? Since when did you have the idea of becoming a lawyer as a profession?
It's quite recently.
For real?
Yeah, because I originally was an athlete. When I was in Qatar, I was running for the Qatar national team. I was doing 100 and 200 meters, and I thought that was my life. I was making, I think, good money for my age.
How old did you
I started when I was
your prime career, as in your
prime
professional-
career when I was 15, 16, when I joined the junior team.
All
But
right.
I started around 14 years old. And I was getting quite a lot of money. It reached a point I was making more money than my dad. So I thought, okay, this is my career. I don't have to go to school.
Yeah.
So along the line, my career had to stop because I got a serious hamstring injury. Basically, my hamstring got separated from the bone. So I had to stop running. And then is when I started exploring career in terms of like a professional career. The first part that I wanted to go into was medicine. I wanted to be
A doctor. The traditional dad and mom.
Traditional career from an African home.
Yeah.
I want to please my parents, but I didn't want to just be any doctor. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. So basically, I work in operation rooms with surgeons. But I went for a conference. It's what we call a Model United Nations conference. And my first ever conference that I went to, I was given a best delegate. And they told me, you have good public speaking skills and you really, really reason critically. We think you should explore law. I was like, okay. I just put my medical career by one person's advice, and then here I am.
Look at the product.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
Nice. And where do you see yourself in 3, 5 years, 20 years?
I think for me, I see in 5 years. So I always envision 5 years apart.
So do 5, 10, and 20.
5, 10, and 20. In the next 5 years, what I see myself as is basically to grow as a senior legal counsel, because I always say that I'm still young. I'm not so long in this legal career. Yeah. So in 5 years, I want to get to the senior legal counsel level.
Yes.
And then I think in 10 years, what I eventually want to do is basically start private practice. So basically to enter consultancy. And then after 5 years, I think we'll be retiring from law and possibly exploring my own thing, doing something that I really like.
Tell us something that nobody knows about you, but you don't mind sharing.
I'm a pastor.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm a pastor. I'm a pastor of Secret Place, which is youth ministry of Tabernacle of David Den Haag. Yes.
Interesting. A lawyer, pastor, what more?
Lawyer, pastor, businessman. Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite food?
So, I like pasta carbonara, and it's from a specific place.
Okay.
Not just any pasta carbonara, but pasta carbonara from Casablanca. That's my favorite one.
Okay, nice. And what is that desire that you experience that you want to desire? A really unique experience that you want to desire?
I think something that I want to eventually enter into is philanthropy.
Philanthropy,
giving back. And I want to really, really give back in the area of widows and orphanage. So I'm thinking of I start a charity or something that will focus on these two areas. Okay. That's one of my biggest dreams.
I like it. Giving back. Okay. So recap. You're a lawyer. You used to be an athlete. You teach us about international laws, European laws, about real estate, real estate 101, the taxes in real estate, you teach us about loopholes, the strategies that lawyers use, and some other game in the lawyer world. What would you advise? Give us a general advice, or what would you like as to see come to pass before you're gone, or before?
Yeah, it's a message that I want each and every one of you watching to have at the back of your mind. That in life, there is only two qualities that a man needs to make it. You either have to be hungry or angry. The first one being angry. You need to be angry at your current situation to want more. And you need to be hungry for more than what you have right now. It is those two desires that will generate the energy, the capacity, the determination you need to fulfill whatever you want to achieve in life.
Nice. All right, viewers, I just want to say thank you. Our guest was a really special guest, a lawyer, all the things that I just named. And I just want to tell him thank you to come on the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you to come on the podcast, to have the time to be available I really want to say thank you. Like, thank you a lot for making time.
You're welcome, bro.
This guy's a lawyer, busy, talking to me. Like, he really didn't need to. But I really want to say thank you. I honor you. I'm grateful for this. And I'm grateful that you're willing to share your knowledge with people. Because there's a lot of stingy people.
What?
And self-centered people. They like to share no type of wisdom with people. Or no type of what they know that they could be a little bit. Advantage.
It's very funny, yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think it's time for us to close this. Viewers, I just want to say thank you. If you guys want more of these conversations, now it's just getting goofy. If you guys want more of these conversations, more of this game, more of whatever, more of these wisdom, more, yeah, just more in general, you guys should subscribe, follow, send me the person that you want me to interview or the person that you guys want me to connect, network with, or whatever game that you guys want. And you guys should tell me in what domain you guys want it. So not only in the law, you guys could tell me in the sports, in the world of sports, in whatever world, in whatever profession that people be doing. And as long as it's teachable, you can learn something about it. You guys just should let me know. And comment in the
Comment section. YouTuber,
comment in the section below. One more.
YouTuber, he doesn't know you have comment section, bro.
Comment in the comment section. Leave a review. Share it with a friend, family, based on the wisdom that this guy just shared. And subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, just watch the video. Like it. If you don't want to like, yeah, it's whatever. But I would say do whatever you want and follow the law. You get it? And yes. And I want to ask one more last question.
For corporations, the company receives its income or receives its revenue. The company is required to pay off expenses and liability.
Okay.
And then what is left is what he's taxed on. And usually the
Hey, no.
my mom was looking at me like this. She's doing this.
Yes.
Okay, so what would be?
About the tax, lost tax incentives.
Okay. I can start from the tax code. So, yeah. So usually what I advise people is when you move to a new country or the country that you live in, usually look at the tax code. And when you look at the tax code, don't look at it from the perspective of a natural person. Also look at the perspective of a private person.